We've covered a number of areas so far. Installing, uninstalling, and moving about is all part and parcel of modding Skyrim. Not only our own personal preferences, but as you add mods, you'll find new conflicts, errors, and incompatibilities you didn't have before. I deliberately try to include replacing and removing at certain times to allow you to be more comfortable with the process. We all want to be able to just download a bunch of mods and get stuck in. The problem is, if we overlook the finer details, the game becomes a massive burden. So let's look at some of the key ways to stay organized, stay updated, and keep our mod build strong. Open up MO2. In our main MO2 window, we have a version column which displays the version numbers of our installed mods. The principles are that green is updated to the most recent and red is outdated, so it seems logical to search for the ones in red. Not quite. See, the issue lies with the version number system. Whether it be on the mod author's end or the way the information is fetched from Nexus Mods by MO2, I'm not sure of. But this is not always correct information and could be an error hiding in plain sight. For example 1, patches. Let's say our mod is version 1.2, but MO2 shows it's outdated as 1.2.5 is the latest. But when we visit Nexus Mods, we find that 1.2.5 is the version number of a patch and not the main mod. It could even be a patch for a mod we don't have installed and therefore don't need. In this case, we can tell MO2 to ignore the update. Right-click and select Ignore Update. Example 2. Alternate versions. You may find mods that have different files depending on your game version. ENB version or non-ENB, or maybe even your personal preferences for a mod such as the color of flowers, size, density, and so on. Because of this, the file you choose may have a version number that is considered out of date on MO2. Sometimes the version number is simply not readable and will default to something like 1, or it may read 1.0 when the latest is 1.0.0. In this case, you can simply edit the version number yourself and it'll update. So keeping an eye on these will prove useful and may just identify a user error or mistake you didn't notice. If MO2 is configured to handle NXM links, it'll be able to fetch information from the mod page on Nexus. It's worth checking your mods are linked to the mod page correctly, so it can do so. Then it will keep an eye on it for you. Bonus tip, right-click on the bar across the top of this page and select Nexus ID. Each ID is unique to the mod itself, and on Nexus Mods, you can type nexusmods.com, Skyrim Special Edition, mods, and then / the ID number, and this will take you directly to the Nexus Mods page of that mod. Next time you find a mod you like and want to remember, just jot down the ID number instead of trying to remember the name. Do you know how many pages I bookmarked or visited with slightly different names before thinking of this? As for compatibilities, you'll find patches are a staple of a large mod build for a number of different mods. but it's easy to lose track of them and even easier to miss a patch for a mod you have when using patch hubs containing multiple options. Should you install Mod 1, then Mod 2, and use a patch hub to enable them to work together, your two mods will work fine. But then you add Mod 3, and without realizing it, this also needs a patch to work with Mod 1. The patch hub will have that, but because it wasn't installed at the time of installation of the patch, you didn't choose that option. So now you need to reinstall the patch hub, only this time you need to enable patches for both Mod 2 and 3. Again, easily missed, and a fault that can be tricky to locate if you don't notice. I'd like to share a couple of ways to help you keep track of this. The first is simply renaming the patch hub clearly. As you can see here, I have written patch hub at the beginning of the mod to clearly identify it. Then I can locate and update it if it needs to. The second option is to assign it the patches category, which leads us on to the next key point of organizing your mod build. By default, MO2 will fetch the category from Nexus and fill it in for you. Annoyingly though, it doesn't always get it right. On top of that, Nexus Mods has recently restructured its own categories, and MO2 has had to update the application to incorporate those changes. So it's worth taking a moment and looking through the assigned categories, and maybe assigning your own choices for better management. You can choose more than one category for a mod and assign a primary one that will display in this column. The categories feature is purely for us to organize and will not have an impact on your game. Right-click and select Change Categories and choose from the options available. If you assign more than one, select Primary Category and choose the one to display. Alternatively, you can double-click on the name of the assigned category to bring up the options available in its own window. Overwrite. We've all been there. You sort your load order and Overwrite jumps out at you as it turns red. This seems to be considered far more intense than it actually is. Overwrite is used whenever a file is generated by a mod that it doesn't know where to place, so it assumes it's the most important file in the world, overwriting anything before it. Most of the time, this isn't anything more than frustrating for us perfectionists out there, ruining our look of a main screen. But it is something you shouldn't ignore. One of the most common files found in Overwrite are ini files. These text files usually contain configuration data of a certain mod, most commonly found to appear after you've loaded into the game, adjusted certain settings for a mod in the mod configuration menu, and saved. Those adjustments are then recorded for reference in future. Deleting said files would mean the next time you load into the game, your settings will have been discarded and you'll have to customize it all over again. So if you find a configuration ini file appears after changes you know you've made, you can drag and drop it onto the mod it refers to, and it will overwrite the default ini file with the newly created one. There are times where these files are generated as a result of an application like Nemesis fighting a mod over priority for its animation data, so pay close attention to what files are in the folder before you decide what to do with them, as sometimes it's important to have the original unedited file where it is, if it could be used elsewhere. For example, or more commonly, if you choose to remove mods that have altered the file data, as this leads to corrupted data files and potential errors. If in doubt, create an empty mod, title it Overwrite or Output, and place the files in there. Remember to enable the mod by checking the box and ensure that this loads after the mod it references. Understanding functions like this one, like the ones covered in the video, will prove invaluable as we grow our mod list and save us an awful lot of time trying to locate and address problems that may arise. Perfect time for a brew.